Hey, it's Beata from BA English Coaching, and I am with
David. Hi, everyone.
Last time I said that usually with David I do the boring grammar or the technical grammar, but this time I have actually chosen something that is short and sweet, very useful, very meaningful. We are doing the imperative today. As we all know, life is messy sometimes. Life is hard and things get complicated, and sometimes we don't know what to do, and we need advice, or we need instructions, we need directions, or maybe sometimes we need to offer suggestions or advice. Correct?
Absolutely right.
And that's when we need the imperative.
Absolutely. So,
So before we start, David, as always, with his knowledge and with his wisdom, will tell you where the word imperative comes from.
okay, so if any of you have studied the Latin language, the language that the ancient Romans spoke, you may have heard of the word imperator. An imperator was the Latin word for emperor. And as you know, the emperor was the top guy and he was always giving instructions.
Or orders.
Instructions
Or
orders.
commands.
And he was a very important person whose instructions had to be followed to the letter.
And sometimes I think people think that the imperative is only to give orders or to give commands.
Okay.
But it's not the case.
Not always, because as we will explore in the lesson, the way you use your voice, the register of your voice, can be friendly advice, not just commands or orders, suggestions which are gentle suggestions or strong suggestions.
It's not what you say, but it's how you say it. So you have to be definitely careful with your tone and with the expression. That's what we will talk about today. We always start with quotes. I just love this quote. And no matter what happens in your life or wherever you are on your life's journey, just follow this quote. It is using the imperative and it's very powerful and it will get you where you need to be in life if you follow this.
It's a quote by Rochelle E. Goodrich, and it says, "Don't ever give up, don't ever give in, don't ever stop trying, don't ever sell out, and if you find yourself succumbing to one of the above, for a brief moment, pick yourself up, brush yourself off, whisper a prayer, and start where you left off, but never, ever, ever give up."
It's beautiful quote, powerful quote, life-changing quote. It's using the imperative. I don't think there is a better example than this quote.
Very inspirational.
As always, we've got a context for you. So you will see how the imperative is used. We will read the text with David. You can always pause the video and repeat after us to work on your pronunciation, expression, and rhythm and intonation.
Okay, so this dialogue is realistic of perhaps a situation you might come across when you are visiting someone. Come in, both of you. Take your coats off. Now come into the living room and I'll get you something to drink. Jane's just coming.
Hello, it's lovely to see you both. Come in and make yourselves at home. Come and sit near the fire. It's a cold day today. Jack, get Carol and Patrick something to drink.
Patrick says, "I had some trouble with the car. Could I wash my hands, please?"
Of course. The bathroom's upstairs. Jack, put the light on for Patrick. Use the blue towel. Patrick, it's clean.
Thank you. Now, Carol, wait until I get back before you tell them the news.
What news? Come on, Carol, tell us everything.
Don't say a word until I get back. Keep them guessing. I'll only be a moment.
Don't worry about him. I'm curious, so tell us the news.
Don't be impatient. Wait for Patrick. I'll just get everyone a drink. Relax. Carol, you have all evening to tell us your news.
We've got the context where you can see the use of the imperative. What functions does the imperative have? David?
You can see that the lady Jane in the dialogue is quite an authoritative person. She is clearly used to giving commands. She's a confident person. She might be a teacher. She might be a businesswoman. She is clearly comfortable giving instructions.
So I think you need to remember two things. You always need the context. Without the context, the language does not make sense. So always have the context. That's why we always try to give you the texts. Okay, so it gives you an idea how the language is used. And as we said previously, it's not what you say, but how you say it. So when we are talking about the imperatives, it's the tone of voice.
What we call the register of the voice is the way you emphasize different words, make it come across as more or less imperative, depending on what you want to achieve in the way that you speak.
Because the last thing you would want to do is to offend someone.
Correct.
So with the imperative, you need to be really careful because it's not only the language, it's definitely how you say it. We have now prepared 10 functions of the imperative. We will tell you when, what kind of situations, and David will read some of the examples to give you an idea. So the first thing is if you want to give orders or commands.
Now, the way we say this is really important, so pay attention to the emphasis on the words and the tone of voice. Don't touch that. Stop and remain silent. That could be a situation where a teacher or an officer is giving commands to someone who needs to act accordingly.
Number 2, when you make requests.
Please do not lean out of the window. Don't be silly.
And here I think with requests, you can use the word please. You still follow the grammar. We will talk about the grammar later, but here you can always soften it with the word please.
Correct.
Number 3, when you give directions.
Turn left at the traffic lights, cross the road and turn right.
Number 4, when you tell or ask somebody what to do.
Dress warmly. Don't forget to post that letter. Tell him you are not free tomorrow.
Number 5, when you give advice or instructions. So it's not only about orders and commands, it's also about advice or instructions.
Okay, so for example, you might say this in a recipe. Break the cheese into small pieces. Or an exercise program. Don't bend your knees. Don't exercise if you feel unwell.
Or if you are good with your hands and if you buy flat pack furniture and then you will need to assemble it yourself, then and you will need to read the instructions. Some people like myself never read instructions. Do you read instructions, David?
Not always.
I never read instructions. But if you read the instructions, you will find this kind of language there. So the next one is when you make suggestions.
Please read this letter. Have some more coffee.
When you invite someone.
Come in, make yourself at home. Come to the gym with me tonight.
When you want to encourage or offer.
Try again, you nearly did it. Don't give up. Keep going. Stay focused.
Express wishes about people's welfare.
Enjoy your holiday. Get well soon.
And the last one, when you want to give warnings.
Don't do that again or you'll be in trouble. Don't move. Be careful. Don't trip over that mat. Look both ways.
So we have covered 10 functions of the imperative. One thing you have noticed is that the imperative doesn't usually have a subject. And that's a very common mistake, isn't it? We are tempted to put you in front of it. So, for example, with the directions, people will say, you turn left, you cross the road. However, remember, there is no you. It
implied. For example, if you're giving directions, turn left at the traffic lights, cross the road and turn right, it's implied that the instruction is given to you. So you might think you should say you turn left at the traffic lights, but there's no need to say that.
And if we are talking about the negative imperatives, so they are constructed with do plus not or don't.
Don't worry about it. Don't move.
There is a special type of imperatives which are called
The emphatic imperative. So this is a form of the imperative where you really do want to be quite authoritative. So for example, do sit down. So you'll notice that the emphasis of the voice is in the first word of the sentence, do. Do sit down. Do be more careful. Do forgive me. Emphatic imperative is the imperative form that is used still for polite requests, but it can also be used for complaining and apologizing. For example, a teacher might say, all the students, please do stand in line. Please do stand in line. So the emphasis on the word do, which is a mode of action. You want the students to do something and do it straight away as soon as you say it.
And also, we form the emphatic imperative with the auxiliary verb. So if we have a sentence, sit down, if you want them to do it immediately, so instead of saying sit down, you say do sit down, and you use the auxiliary verb.
If you're addressing a group of students who some may sit down, some may not sit down, some may take a long time to sit down. So the teacher in that situation would start to get very impatient. And you say, do sit down. And by using the authority in your voice on that first word, those students should then react immediately and sit down there and then.
So if you are getting impatient or annoyed or frustrated,
Yes.
which we all do,
Yes.
we are just human. So then you know that you can use the emphatic imperative. I do not like the word. It sounds like empathetic.
It does. So be careful. It's emphatic means that you are putting a strong focus on those words. So a good example is in today's pandemic, for example, all governments are encouraging people to get their vaccination. If you just say, get vaccinated if you want to stay healthy, that is clearly a request. However, if you have a group of people who are reluctant or hesitant to get vaccinated, that person might say, do get vaccinated if you want to stay healthy. That is clearly a more authoritative request, which requires or is asking something to happen there and then. It changes the meaning of the sentence to become more important for you to react straight away without thinking about it, and not to go away, think about, and maybe yes, maybe no. They want you to do it, and they want you to do it now.
So we've come to the end of the lesson. We hope you have found it useful, enjoyable, meaningful. You have learned something. You know how important it is to use the imperatives, and also how important and essential it is to be careful about your voice and the tone of voice and what words you do emphasize. As always, if you have enjoyed it, please like it, share it, and subscribe. Be awesome, be able, and be authentic. And remember,
never give up, stay focused, stay positive, and stay strong.
Yes, now you know how to use the imperatives. Do it. Bye.